I talk about the fact that we can't be steadfast if nothing ever tries to move us. And I want to push against that myself. Like, they've been like, I love that sentence, but I don't like it because I want to be steadfast, but I don't want to do the work to make me steadfast. And the deal with being steadfast is that I don't do it on my own. It's about who I'm leaning on. And there's a comfort in that. And prayer is that connection that makes me steadfast, because I can't do that on my own. Like, I'm not in control of that. And it's about being able to be needy and tell God your needs.
You're listening to the Big Ideas Podcast with Ashlee Ilg. Tune in for honest conversations as we pursue bold dreams, redefine what is possible, and empower the next generation to live big. You'll hear stories that prove over and over again that just because something wasn't a part of our plan doesn't mean it won't be used for our good. Whether you're already an entrepreneur, you dream of becoming one, or you're raising the next generation of entrepreneurs, this podcast is for you. There's no time to waste on your big ideas. So let's get started. Here's your host, Ashlee Ilg.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Big Ideas Podcast. This season I've just been so honored to be sharing the mic with some amazing friends, amazing women who just are being obedient and following God's plan, even if it looks maybe unlike anything they expected, or maybe it's uncomfortable, maybe if it doesn't always make sense. And you all have been hearing some amazing stories. We're going to just keep them going today. But I think more than anything, these women that I've been talking with, they are just so excited to just set an example, build a legacy for the next generation through their obedience, through their relationship with Jesus, through all of their actions and just what they're holding, what they're stewarding so well. And today's guest is going to bless you, I know, so much. She is a sweet friend and amazing woman of faith. I have with me today Lauren Mitchell. So Lauren, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. I love it. I love Ashlee, so to sit down and get to talk with her is just fun.
So Lauren and I, well, let me tell you who Lauren is. If you've not heard of Lauren, you're going to definitely want to make sure that you start following her and all the things. But she is an author. Her latest book is Steadfast Through the Psalms, which if you're on YouTube, you can see the book here. Steadfast Through the Psalms, Becoming a Woman After God's Own Heart. She's also a speaker, a Bible teacher, a wife, a mom, and just overall encourager of women just walking through life. And she's just, like I said, she's like a big hug, although she's petite, but the hugs are very warm and just very amazing. But yeah, Lauren and I met through our local writers group. We just connected. We've made some really fun excuses to get together for coffee over the last couple of years. This podcast is also just secretly another excuse to get together and chat. And I just know as we go through her book, as you learn more about her and her heart, you're just going to want to be fast friends with her as well. So yeah, let's kind of dive right into your book, Lauren. I love how, I love just the title of it, Steadfast Through the Psalms. I feel like it's a word that encompasses so much. And I think in a world that maybe tells us otherwise, or maybe tries more like to rush the process, or speed through things, or shortcut through things, I feel like steadfast is one of those words that just kind of anchors the heart and the motive behind things. So I would love for you to just kind of tell us, like, what season were you in when you're writing this book? Like, why this book? Why, I think in the author world, we often hear like the book matters because it needs to be written, right? The topic needs to be written. It needs to be written by you, and it needs to be written today. So I feel like this book checks all those boxes, but I'd love for you to just kind of deep dive us into why this book was important for you to write today.
Okay. I think that the best reason for me to write this book was that I really wanted women to understand how accessible God is and how accessible having a prayer life is, because I think sometimes we make it something that it isn't. And nobody ever teaches us like how to pray. And when I really learned how to pray, like I had a moment that I did something. There's like a hack that is what this book's about that I'm going to get to in just a second. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But I was like, people need to know this because this makes prayer easier. And it made my prayer life so much different and deeper. And there are women I've talked to a ton who would be like, I love the Bible and I read my Bible every morning, but my prayer life, I feel like there's room for development. And I think that a lot of the times, and some of the frustrations that I have had with loving the Bible and then wanting to apply it, are that we kind of lack the middle part,
Mm.
which is praying for it to be activated in our life. So, like, loving the Bible is what we are supposed to do and crave God's word, but then we so want to apply it and we fail over and over, but we miss the activation point, which is the middle ground, which is prayer. It's that we read God's word and then we pray it and activate it in our life.
Mm.
We say we're agreeing with God and talk to God about it. And that is like a step that we can't skip, but we don't know how to do.
Mm.
And so, having been a teacher, I had this one continuing education class, and I hesitate to say this because it makes continuing education sound terrible, but this is the only thing I remember from a lot of continuing education classes
Yeah.
that made me a better teacher. So, we were listening to this lady talk to us about spelling words, and she was talking to us about how when we were kids we used to write our spelling words, but there was really something to that, because when you write words or you're trying to write out something that you want to remember,
Mm.
your mind can't do something else because it can only be occupied with your pen moving or your pencil, like your handwriting. So you can't actually multitask and think about something else at the same time, or you can't write.
Mm.
And I was like, holy cow, that's an epiphany. If I apply that to my prayer life, that will fix one of my main problems, which I know that you're with me because I think we've talked about this. But one of the main problems, especially women, I feel like have with praying is that we sit down and we're like, okay, I'm going to focus. God, today I need strength for my family. I need, oh, did I switch the clothes from the washer to the dryer? And did I make that appointment at the dentist? And did I answer that text that, like, and
Right.
have I emailed the permission slip? Like, and the list never ends, because as soon as our minds start to wander, I really feel like our enemy jumps on that because he knows how powerful prayer is. And he's like, let's think about all the things that we need to do instead of the God who could help you do them.
Mm.
So I feel like that was an epiphany to me when I started journaling prayers. And I specifically, though I do sit here a lot because it's a cute spot in my bedroom. If I were to turn you around, you would see the unmade bed over there. But since we're facing this side of the room, you can see journals up above me. And those are all journals that are filled with prayer. And I don't point those out to be like, hey, I have prayer mastered. The point of those is that you're talking to a needy woman. Like, that is symbolic of how much I need God. And prayer is really about, like you said, steadfast. That
Mm.
that word to me. So many women have said to me that this sentence in the book resonated with them. I talk about the fact that we can't be steadfast if nothing ever tries to move us. And like, and I want to push against that myself. Like, they've been like, I love that sentence, but I don't like it because I want to be steadfast, but I don't want to do the work to make me steadfast. And the deal with being steadfast is that I don't do it on my own. It's about who I'm leaning on. And there's a comfort in that. And prayer is that connection that makes me steadfast because I can't do that on my own.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not in control of that. And it's about being able to be needy and tell God your needs. Because I think from like childhood, where it's a good thing but a bad thing. Like, we raise our children, and like the goal of raising children is that they become independent from us and that they can function on their own. But we, like, as God's children, are not being raised to be independent ever.
Mm.
Like, our goal for our kids should be, instead of being dependent on us, they transfer that dependence to God. And I feel like sometimes as a society, we miss that. And our goal is independence. So when we're adults, we're like, I'm not supposed to be needy. I'm supposed to have this together because I'm an adult. And God is like, no, you don't have anything together. You need me. And prayer is that, just it's that connection of our neediness to God. So that is what caused me to write the book. I'm an incredibly needy woman. And once I started journaling my prayers and I saw how much that developed my prayer life and made me more steadfast, I was like, that people need to know that this is how you do it. And I really connected that with David having written all of the Psalms, because all the Psalms that David wrote, which is at least 73, 74, depending on who you line up with, but at least that many that were published Psalms that he wrote, I feel like
Right.
he was the original journaler of prayer and he got it. So we talk about David in the book too, because I feel like he was the original journaler of prayer and he was a man after God's own heart. And I think that was why is
Mm-hmm.
his prayer life.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, friend, I wanted to take a quick pause to ask if you've taken the quiz yet to find out what type of dreamer are you. It's super important to discover what's working for you, but also some things that may be keeping you from really pursuing your greatest purpose. It takes just 2 minutes to find out if you're the skimboarder, the sunbather, the sandcastle builder, or the surfer babe. So jump over to dreamerquiz.com and be sure to share your results and tag me in it. Now back to the show. I love the heart behind the book and why you wrote it. I want to jump back because when you were talking about, I'm a very needy woman, and that's why, and it resonated so much with me because, as you know, part of my story is like, reframing this word surrender. So I feel like needy and surrender are both words that, like, to use your example, we grew up thinking like, well, I don't want to be needy and I don't want to be weak and surrender, because surrender means defeat and surrender means give up, and needy means, I'm dependent and I need other, I can't do it by myself or whatever. And that's weakness. And so I just love how both of those words are so misunderstood, but they actually both mean strength when we turn them over to the Lord and we say, I am needy and I want to be needy. I want to be dependent on you. I want to acknowledge that I cannot do this without you. And then, like, with surrender, I mean, that's the word I've been dissecting for the last, year or two, and realizing that doesn't mean defeat. It doesn't mean you've given up. It doesn't mean you've rolled over and waved the white flag. It means you realized, when I put this in the Lord's hands, it can actually become something so much greater than I could have done on my own. And so, yeah, I love how you just said that about being a really needy woman. I'm like, ooh, that's good. I want to be needy and I want to surrender all day,
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
That I think that David, like, if we think about strong people in the Bible, he was like the most amazing king of Israel that they ever had. Now, there is a whole week I do on David, like on sin in my praying through that, because David also committed what we would label as heinous sins in our culture, but it didn't stop his purpose. Like, God still, even after that, used him. And I feel that what got him through that, his connection, was prayer and him being needy. Because some of the Psalms that are the most beautiful to me are after David sinned, or even ones before that. But the ones that resonate with me so much are where David is needy. And he says things like, I cry out to you, God, morning, noon, and night. And like, he's like, I flood my bed with tears. How long is it going to be like that? Like, he is the neediest guy you've ever heard. He sounds like, a needy female. Like, and I love that about David. I'm like, I don't know how he was like a warrior, but gets me. Like, and he wasn't afraid to say those things to God. Like, he so understood God's heart. That morning, noon, and night thing will always get me, because I still struggle with being like, I can ask God for the same things morning, noon, and night, and he doesn't run out. I think it's because I'm a mom. And if my kids are coming to me morning, noon, and night, by night, I'm like, I'm out. I have nothing left.
Yeah. Tapped out, maxed out. You've maxed
yes,
your limit.
I'm like, I'm trying, but you're not going to get my best response. I always make God human, like that. Once I've asked too many times, he's going to stop giving that. And nothing in scripture indicates that we can ask God for help too many times. Nothing. I've looked to be sure. Like, he instead says things like, come to me again, come in the morning, come at night. So I love that. And I like that connection to David that the book brings.
Yeah. And I do. I agree. And I wanted to ask you along those same lines too. So, I mean, so many of the Psalms are very deeply emotional, like you were talking about. Maybe even dark, maybe even show how David doubted that God was at work, working out all the plans for his good and, that he was even there. I mean, I know there are Psalms where David's like, "Where are you, God?" What would you say that these Psalms teach us about our relationship with God, maybe even more so than like the joyful, triumphant, like praise Psalms that we find also there?
That's a good question because it hits on something like we don't want to admit that we
Yeah,
doubt sometimes that
right.
like God is out for our best and that what he is doing is good because it doesn't match up with my expectation.
Yeah.
So I think that that connection of prayer that David had, that he was able to ask those questions, is everything. Because I feel like when we feel like we've asked for help too many times, like I said, or when we are doubting what God said, what we don't want to do is pray.
Yeah.
It's like we think that God doesn't know what we're thinking already. Like I do that all the time. I'm like God didn't hear that. And the key to that, like David did, is to share those doubts. And I mean, David said some things to God that I've been like, I'm not sure I'd say that to God. But he wasn't afraid to have his heart completely open to God. I think because
Mm,
he said God saw it anyway. So why don't we get it out there so that I can deal with what I'm feeling?
mm,
And sometimes I feel like we think we're like protecting God from our feelings. Like it will somehow make him not seem true if what we're feeling comes out. If
or
that
yeah, or make him disappointed in us, and we're like, we don't want him to be mad at us,
Yes.
or
The disappointment
yeah,
word, that gets me. I have a lot of times been like, I don't want to disappoint him. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. I feel that.
yeah. But it's literally like you're saying, it's literally in those moments where we are having those hard, raw, you know, doubtful, dark conversations at the end of ourselves, with God, and just leaving it all at his feet. Like, this is what I'm thinking. This is where I'm at. Help me see what's actually true here, or help me see what you're doing. Like, I always use the word glimpse, like, just give me a glimpse that you are working out something for the good. I don't need to see the full picture. I don't need you to, I trust the process, so to speak, but also like some days I'm like, just a glimpse that like I'm not totally off track and that you are still there. Like, where are you? I just need a glimpse of like your presence or I don't know, it sounds silly saying it, but like, I think in those moments, it just makes our relationship with him so real,
Mhm.
and it makes it something because he does show up. I've never once had those moments where I didn't get that glimpse or that reassurance or just that unspeakable peace where I'm like, he's here. He is working it out. I can keep trusting. Um, and I do think those moments where I'm like, he didn't let me down. He's not mad at me. He's not,
Mhm.
smiting me or
Yes. And I think we get more of those moments the more in connection we are with God. Like
mm,
the more we pray, the more we hear him.
yeah.
Like, and that sounds funny because prayer, we so frequently, it's our talking to God, but it's also somehow my talking to God opens me up to listen to what he's saying in a better way.
Mm,
And one of the things that I love about the book, and that I still like, I'm about to do the book again with a group of ladies. And I'm like, I need to for my heart because it aligns me to pray morning and night. And that rhythm of prayer is a habit that I struggle to keep, but I know how important it is.
yeah.
So it invites you. There's a morning section in the book, and then and I know you know this, but there's an evening section
Yeah.
in the book. And the evening is shorter, but here's what happens, like what you were saying about like God being disappointed in us. I will do my quiet time in the morning, and I've heard from God one of those times where I'm like, I know he said this to me. And then oftentimes by noon, I've completely forgotten what he said. And it's only been hours, like
Right.
not days. It's been hours. And I need like that reconnection to remember. I'm so forgetful. I'm like the Israelites. Like I'm in like I feel like my day's gone awry by the nighttime and I forgot what he said that morning, or I didn't apply it the way I wanted to and I feel disappointed in myself.
Mm.
And the evening portion is so important. And I've had so many women say that they love that.
Yeah.
It does sound like it's like something else for you to do, but what it really does at night, because it's short, is invite you to be like, God, this is where we were this morning. And it's okay that this is how I failed today, because I'm going to remember how much you love me before I go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And that my purpose doesn't depend on me, but it depends on God. I need that reminder to bookend my day, to have it when I wake up, but to also have that when I go to sleep, to close my day and my thoughts. Like
Mm-hmm.
we lay down and we're like, this is what I should have done. This is what I should have said. Like to be able to be like, that was a 24-hour period, like, or 16, however long our day was.
Yeah.
It's okay if I didn't get it perfect. Remind myself of God's presence in my life at the end of the day too.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I love that part about your book too. I actually had notes about how you have it, the morning and the evening sections, and I was like, shout out to all the type A's. You're gonna love this formatting of the book. You can like write in it and like, keep tabs of morning and evening for all the days. But I think it might even be like week 1, day 1, morning 1. I can't remember. It's like right at the beginning though. It was like, it's one of my favorite verses that you hone in on. I think it's Psalm 3:5, right? Where it's, every morning you'll hear me at it again. Every morning I will lay my life down on your altar and like wait for you, wait for the fire, I think. I have that verse written on like a sticky note on my desk because again, as sort of that as this recovering overachiever personality of mine who loves a good plan, who's slowly learning to surrender, right? We've already talked about all that. So I love that verse of like, that's how you start your day, but then like, it's literally how you started your book of just trusting God with, this is what I had, this is what I have, this is what my heart has planned out, or this is what my day looks like, this is my to-do list, whatever. But have your way with it. Let me know what should I actually focus on today. And yeah, I recently had Jennifer Dukes-Lee on the show also, and she just released her book, How to Love Your Morning. And one of the most beautiful things about loving your morning is setting yourself up the night before. And it goes right in line with what you're saying, where don't carry something from the day before into the next day. Like have that closure, that peace, that moment with the Lord. And if you want to write it down, like your book is so ideal for that, and journaling it, and yeah, just leaving it with him and just finding that peace and that closure for that day, whatever it looks like. It's just, it's such a beautiful, honest way of just giving it back to him and saying like, this is where we started and this is how we ended. I love you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you brought that verse up, because I love in that day I talk about the Message version when it's like I bring it to you in the morning and I put my pieces. It says put it on the altar. The Message says I lay out the pieces of my day. And the first time I read it in that translation, okay, I hate puzzles, which I say in the book.
Yeah,
So if
I
you
don't
love
either.
puzzles, don't hate me. But I get all these pieces and I'm like, I don't know where they go, and I feel overwhelmed at like the one step at a time. So that picture to me of the pieces of my day is so beautiful, because I don't know where they go. Oftentimes I think I do, but I need to lay them out in the morning for God to be like, no, that piece doesn't go there, Lauren, even though you're trying to make it fit, because I don't know what's going to happen in the day. I don't know where the pieces are actually going to fall. So I need that in the morning.
Yeah. I love listening to you talk because I'm like, this is why we're friends. I also despise puzzles, and there's like so much research out there of how good they are for you, and like do puzzles with your kids and all this. And I'm like, listen, it's not going to go well. I've never met a puzzle that I liked. And
no, me neither.
But the way you just said they overwhelm you of like where to start, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never pinpointed why I don't like them. I always just thought I don't sit still very well. I'm not a good stay in one place kind of a person. I don't know why, but that's always kind of been a thing. So I've always kind of blamed it on that. Like, you got to just sit still long
and focus.
and focus. on one thing alone. Like, come on.
Yes. Doing that with my family is not an option because when we have done that, I have people in my family, I'm not going to name them, but there's more than one, who think it's hilarious to hide a piece of the puzzle so that when you're finished, like it's not actually
Oh my
finished.
gosh.
Makes some of us come unglued. Yeah, it's not a relaxing family activity.
Yeah, I know. I've
Love
kind of
that for some families.
I know. I've kind of carried a little bit of mom guilt about like, I should really be doing puzzles with my kids. It's so good for them and their brain and their development and their focus. I'm like, maybe, sorry, mom, not to throw you under the bus. Maybe you should have done them with me when I was younger. Maybe that's what's missing here, but I'm
Well,
teasing.
it's good that God keeps all our pieces.
Right.
No one hides them so that when we get to the end, they're all where they go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Praise the Lord. We do not
Yes.
have to love puzzles because he
Yes.
is the master
Yes, we just have to
puzzle
give
putter
him
together.
pieces.
Yes, I can do that.
Yes.
Okay, so speaking of things that are tricky and hard,
Uh-huh.
was there, so you mentioned how you talk about different pieces of David's life, and that's kind of how you've broken the book into sections, not necessarily chapters, but sections.
Mhm.
You've got like integrity, fear,
Mhm.
destiny, sin, all those things.
And
Was there,
identity. Yes.
yes, was there one that was maybe more difficult for you to write through? Was there one that you were like, I gotta really like process deeper to like, so let me set this up this way. So when I've been writing, some of the pages that are hardest for me to write are the things that I'm still working out in real time, right?
Always.
So, and I guess that's a thing with authors is you're like, oh, I'm gonna live this real time before I can put it into like meaningful words that would be a benefit for others to read that I could share. And
Yes.
so,
So I'm going to say that all of them are something I'm still working out. So they were all difficult because God and I got like whenever I write, people think about writing, which you know this because you do write, but like it's just magical and you sit down
it's
and you
this free
drink your
flow.
coffee and like writing for me, if it's going to be ever any good, it involves invasiveness in my heart and my sin, and I am always crying. So like we joke at my house that like if I'm writing, I should not put mascara on first. But I would say if I had to pick one, I feel like the one that is something that I have struggled with in life a lot is fear. And so the week on fear always like does another layer for me of the fear and control that I struggle with. And David, I mean, he had all kinds of stuff to be afraid. Like, I've never had a giant. I've never lived in caves for 7 years. I've never had to be king. I've never had to go into battle. Like, so like his fear is a lot more than mine, like the things that he had to be afraid of, but I so identify with him because I can get afraid. My husband likes to say this phrase about me, and he will tell you that there's been progress in my life. Part of it, I think, is being married to him. Because if there's something he's afraid of, we have to do it. Like, and I'm like, let's go the other way. But he likes to say about me that it doesn't have to be possible. It just has to be terrible. That I know that has been true about like my thought life. Like I will be like worried about something and he's like, Lauren, that will never happen. And I'm like, but it could. And so my journey through that, which I'm proud to say, he doesn't say that much about me anymore. And I really have done well, but God is still working on me with fear. I mean, like, it is one thing in your own life. And then when you have children, you realize there's like a whole nother layer of things that you can fear that could happen not to you and your husband, but to all the little people that you're in charge of. And so the chapter on fear is a lot. And in it, I also talk about one of the experiences in my life that God really honed in on fear in my life, which was I've been afraid of tornadoes since I was in second grade. And in 2011, our home was hit by an EF4 tornado while we were home, and I only had two children, not the third yet, but they were 4 and 2. And people have asked me, don't you feel like that was cruel of God? Because that was like one of your largest fears. And I always say that it was one of God's greatest kindnesses to me because it was like him saying, we're going to walk through what you've been most afraid of so that you can stop being so afraid. And I can't say that if I could like go back in time and rewind my life and God was like, do you want to do this or no? That I would be like, yeah, let's do it again. But I can say that I'm so glad God chose that for my story, even though I wouldn't have, because I needed it and he knew that I needed it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
countless people have benefited from me talking about that in
Yeah.
ways. So God knew that I needed it and that others needed that also.
Yeah, I remember the first time you shared that story with me and I was shaken. I mean, I will still think of it, whenever the tornado sirens go off or whatever. I'm like, well, Lauren lived through one. I mean, you were home. You guys just in time made it to your pantry, right?
Yes, good memory. Yes,
Yeah.
we made it to the pantry. A friend had called me, and like her words were, "I know you're awake." And this was like at midnight. She was like, because I know she knew me, so she knew I had been scared of tornadoes, and she was like, "The tornado sirens are going off, and where we lived, we wouldn't have heard them." And I was still awake, so I woke my husband up, and we took our children. And ironically, my dad, who flew for a living, traveled, he had been in Atlanta, and he was like, I think it'll be safer if I stay at your house than the airport tonight, which we still joke about. Would have been much better at the airport. And he was also there. And God spared all of us. And my house was really not left, but everything important to me, including the dog, walked out that night, which was a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
And it was the thing I was most scared of. But I can tell you that even though in the short term, storms were really hard for my family. I struggled with PTSD. My 2-year-old son, who's now 17, struggled with PTSD. And that was hard to watch, to experience. And we have some physical effects from it. But now, at this point in my life, when it storms, I'm not scared. I'm actually more peaceful than I've ever been, which is not the experience a lot of people have after having been in a tornado. And that didn't happen overnight.
Right.
But it is true. That is a beautiful thing that God has weaved into my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And what an amazing shift in your perspective about, because I went through that and experienced that, came out on the other side of it, the power of that testimony it's just powerful, like now you have the ability to share that. I mean, every time, I've heard you tell this story before, but I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm terrified of alligators. Do I want to go wrestle an alligator to get to the other side of that? I don't think so, Lord, but like, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to bring it. But I love how you, no, I do. I love how your ability to tell that story can bring so much strength to other people, whether it's a tornado or not. And I'm kind of like, well, you said you haven't gone through things like David. Well, he didn't go through a tornado. I mean, yes. if we're gonna level up,
And each person, in your life, no matter what it is, you're going to face things that you weren't prepared for. And I say that in my book. This is one of my favorite stories in the book. Actually, I think it's in one of the videos. It's not in the book. But I talk about that fear is like a frog in a lunchbox. And the story is that my daughter is scared of frogs, like deathly afraid of frogs. And my youngest child loves frogs. So my husband at work one day found this huge bullfrog, like on his job site. He builds homes and he found this huge frog. So being my husband, he was like, I gotta take that home to Caleb. So he put it in his lunchbox for the rest of the afternoon because, it's hot in Georgia, and with the ice pack would keep it fresh.
To bring home for the son who loves frogs.
Who loves frogs.
Okay.
Yeah. So he comes into the house with his lunchbox, and I am the person who unpacks his lunchbox just to set the stage for you. It's in the kitchen, and all my children have come in because we're about to eat dinner at this point in time. And I go to open the top of the lunchbox, and my husband's like, oh, wait. I was like, what? And he was like, well, say something about it. And my middle child opened the lunchbox and out hopped the frog. And so my daughter has climbed up on the counter. She's with dinner on the counter, and we're chasing a bullfrog in the kitchen. But that was the perfect picture of what fear is like. it usually pops up when you're not prepared for it and you don't expect it. And you can't fortify yourself so that those things don't happen in
Right.
life. You just can't. They're going to happen. So it's what you do with it. When you open the lunchbox and suddenly there's a frog, it's what you focus on. And the verse that I talk about with that is Psalm 26:3, which is that we fix our eyes on steadfast love on God and walk in his faithfulness. And that's the only thing to do, no matter what you're afraid of, no matter what frog jumps out of the lunchbox in your day. The only answer to fear is a repeating of fixing your eyes not on what you're afraid of, but on God and walking in his faithfulness one step at a time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is a good story. And you mentioned your video. So along with your book, you have an
Yes.
entire video series that
Mhm.
accompanies, obviously adds to, that
Mhm.
is just an incredible resource. And
Yeah.
it's you. So
It's me in your living room. So you can
yes.
get together with ladies you love and like facilitate a Bible study, and you don't even have to do any of it except open your house.
Mm,
So if you have the gift of hospitality, this is a pre-made package for you to do a Bible study, because it's me in your living room and teaching each week, and there's even a short bonus one for when you're finished and you all want to get back together
that's
with this stuff.
amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they're totally free. We should say that they come with the book. It's a QR code that you can
Yeah.
stream anywhere.
That's amazing. It's a whole package.
Yes, the whole package.
Yes. All of Lauren, all in one cute package.
Yes, right there.
So maybe tell us, and I know you talked about your heart behind the story and everything, but what would you say, how do you hope that this book will transform our hearts? Like where we're starting from when we pick up the book, maybe we don't even know really what we need. We just know, I don't know, I like this cover. It looks really great. Or they're like, my prayer life needs some rejuvenation, so
Oh.
like whatever point they're coming from, how do you hope this book will transform our hearts as we read it?
I would say that I want everybody to be able to say, yeah, I talk to God regularly. Like, we have conversations regularly. There's this verse I love in Isaiah about David. And it's a reflection of in First and Second Samuel, when it talks about David in First Samuel, and it says that he was a man after God's own heart. When I first read that, I was like, I want to be that. I want to be a woman after God's own heart. And I feel like praying is that connection that keeps us chasing his heart. It's what connects us to his heart so that we can be men and women after God's own heart. And I was like, I want that, God, when I first read that in First Samuel. And then later in my life, I ran into Isaiah 55:3, which says that if you incline your ear to me and listen, I will make with you the same covenant that I made with David, and my steadfast love, the same as for David. And I was like, oh my goodness, if I talk to God and incline my ear and listen to God, I can have that same relationship. That's what I want for people through this, to realize that prayer is their conversation with God, and that they can have the same kind of relationship that David had with God and be a person after God's own heart, just like he was.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a great example, what a great example that David gave to us about just being real and,
Mhm.
super high, super low, super high, super low, and everything in between. And I love that. I've been a people pleaser before. I've been a recovering perfectionist. And so I feel like his
Mhm.
life and his personality, his life path, all of that, it's easy to relate to in a way, is even without, I would guess, like you mentioned the giants in the cave and all this, and I'm like, well, metaphorically we could probably relate with all the parts, like, well, we
Yes.
faced quote unquote giants, we have lived in maybe isolated times of our life, or in
Mhm.
hiding, or playing small, or we could metaphorically have lived in a cave maybe. But yeah, I love how you make David's life and his prayers and just the way his relationship with God so real and so accessible, and so like you just said, if David can do this, God offered the same promise to us. I love it. And your book makes it so easy to walk into that in like a really practical way, either on our own or, like you said, in a group. So yeah, I'm so thankful that you were obedient in stewarding those words and stewarding that message.
I would love to say that I've loved being on here with you,
Oh, you're sweet.
because I think it's awesome and a testament that like we could have a conversation that wasn't rehearsed, like that
Oh, yeah.
we were like, we're just gonna get on and talk about the book, and that
Yes.
God can be in that between two friends. And I really feel like he was in that.
Yeah. I agree. And we have matching coffee mugs that were also
And
not
yes,
planned. So, I mean, talk about
so we didn't even
unity.
know we were doing.
Yes. So, okay. So tell us all the ways we can find you, stay connected with you. Your life is just a beautiful reflection of what God can do. And of course, tell us how to find your book and all of your resources.
Absolutely. You can go to my Instagram account, Lauren Mitchell Writes at Instagram, and you can find all of the resources from that spot. My blog is housed at my website, which is also laurenmitchellwrites.com. So if you just remember Lauren Mitchell Writes, you can find me on any of them.
Yeah.
I have a website, and you can get my book from the website. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. You can get it at Books A Million. You can get it all those places, anywhere online. And if you are local, like if you're listening to this and you host a group of ladies, I love, and I've gotten to do this, I think in the last month, at least twice. I love if you are hosting a group who's doing my study to show up. Like, so
Love
if
that.
someone in the group wants to DM me and be like, hey, can you come to one of our, like, I love to do that. So I might even be able to come to your house
Yeah.
if you want me at your house.
Yes.
If you were to choose to do it. And if you just like what we talked about today, you can get my blog. I send it out every Friday. I just finished up a Lent series where I did prayers that were free. So I do a bunch of downloadable prayers for free. And this was like a downloadable 40 days of Lent prayers that I just finished. So
yeah,
there's
it's
lots of
amazing.
is there.
Yeah, everything you put together is so well done and so intentional. And so just, yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, thank
And I'll have links for everything in the show notes as well. So everybody will be able to find you and snag your book, plan their next get together. So that sounds amazing. Well, thank you so much, Lauren, for being here today. Thank you for joining me for this fun conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I know our listeners have. And for everybody listening, thank you so much for being here. And as always, keep your big ideas coming, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in today. Before you go, it would mean the world to me and my family if you would share this episode with at least one person who you think might benefit from this message. And of course, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also follow me at Ashlee Ilg on Instagram to keep up with our adventures and for continued encouragement as you pursue your big ideas. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time.